Psalm 26 to 12. Commentary. Psalm 26, 1 to 3. Confidence. Before the Lord. David begins by asking the Lord to vindicate him, not because he claims sinless perfection, but because he has placed his trust in God. He invites God to examine his heart and mind, knowing that the Lord sees beyond outward appearances. His confidence rests in God's steadfast love and faithfulness rather than in human approval. This passage demonstrates that those who trust the Lord can approach him with confidence. True integrity is the result of faith in God's gracious work, not merely outward religious performance. Because God's covenant love endures forever, those who belong to him have assurance that he knows them completely. Psalm 26, 4 to 5. Separation from hypocrisy. David declares that he does not align himself with deceitful or hypocritical people. His words are not expressions of personal superiority, but of a desire to remain faithful to God's truth. Throughout Scripture, hypocrisy is consistently exposed because it masks the heart while maintaining an appearance of righteousness. The Lord desires sincerity rather than religious pretense. Genuine faith produces a life that values truth, not outward performance designed to impress others. Psalm 26, 6 to 8. Love for God's dwelling. David speaks of washing his hands in innocence and walking around God's altar with thanksgiving. He delights in the place where God reveals his glory and where worship is offered. Under the Old Covenant, God's presence was associated with the tabernacle and later the temple. These earthly places pointed forward to something greater. Through the completed work of Christ, God's dwelling is no longer centered in a physical sanctuary, but among his redeemed people. The reality anticipated by the temple has been fully established, and believers now enjoy continual access into God's presence. Thanksgiving remains the fitting response to God's faithfulness, not because worship is confined to a location, but because his presence is continually with his people. Psalm 26, 9 to 10. A prayer for deliverance. David asks not to share the fate of the wicked, whose lives are marked by violence, bribery, and corruption. He recognizes the difference between those who trust the Lord and those who reject his ways. God's justice ultimately distinguishes between righteousness and wickedness. His judgments are never arbitrary, but reveal his holiness and faithfulness to his covenant promises. Throughout biblical history, God consistently preserved his people while bringing judgment upon persistent rebellion. Psalm 20, verse 11 to 12. Walking securely. David closes by affirming that he will continue to walk in integrity while asking the Lord for redemption and mercy. He rejoices that his feet stand on level ground and commits himself to praising the Lord publicly. This ending highlights the security that comes from God's redeeming work. Stability is found not in human effort, but in God's faithfulness. Those who belong to him stand on a firm foundation established by his covenant promises. The psalm concludes with praise because confidence before God ultimately rests in his mercy. His redeeming work provides assurance, freedom, and joyful worship. Rather than living in fear of condemnation, his people are invited to rejoice in his faithfulness, knowing that he has accomplished all that is necessary to bring them near and establish them securely in his presence.